Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Welcome to Share Talk. Today we have Executive Chairman George Frangeskides from Alba Mineral Resources plc, which is a ticker ALBA on AIM. Welcome, George.
Great, thanks for having me on your show.
So you've had some sampling results back from Thule black sands in Greenland today, and there's an RNS out about that. But for the benefit of our listeners who may not have had a look into Alba Mineral Resources before, can you just give an overview of the projects that you've got on hand? Because you've got quite a wide range.
We certainly do. We're essentially invested in two sides of the coin, if you like, oil and gas and the mining side. And we started out as a listed company in mining, so that's our bread and butter, if you like, and what we know and what we like to work on. The oil and gas came about 3 years ago, where we saw an opportunity to get involved in a consortium at Horse Hill, which is in the Weald Basin in Surrey, and we took an initial stake of 5% in Horse Hill, or rather in the operator, and we've since increased that from 5 to 10 to 15%. In fact, we've recently agreed to buy another 3%. So we are currently and are going to retain our status, if you like, of the second largest holder in that consortium behind UCOG. So that's a significant investment for Alba, but we're not operators there. It is an investment. I can talk about it in a little bit more detail if that's of interest. The other one, quite close to Horse Hill, is Brockham. Unlike Horse Hill, which is a large exploration play, Brockham is actually a production well, and the operator is looking to put that back into production in Q1 of next year. So that's we've got a small piece of Brockham at 5%, but if it goes into production as we hope and expect it will, we'll have we hope to have a nice revenue stream coming out of there, which is always a good thing. On the mining side, we've got a couple of legacy assets which we've had for quite a number of years and still have potential. They're in Mauritania for uranium and Ireland for base metals. The two really, I suppose, tier one projects that we've got on the mining side are in Greenland. We entered the Greenland mining sector a couple of years ago with Exec, which is a graphite project in southern Greenland. We actually started farming into that with another listed company. We liked it a lot, and we eventually agreed to buy it out. So we're a 90% holder with the right to go to 100%. It's high-grade graphite, and for those of your listeners who don't know, graphite is a key component in a lot of things, a lot of industrial uses, but most newsworthy is its use in electric vehicle, lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. So that's a key use, and that market, as you I'm sure know, is exploding and is only going to go in one direction. So that's our Exec project. And the other one that's, as you say, newsworthy today is our Thule Black Sands project in northwest Greenland. Now, we can come on to the RNS if you like, but we only picked up that license a few months ago. We've already been into the site to do some sampling, and it's 100% owned by Alba, and it's pretty exciting, and I can explain a little bit more detail why that is.
Yeah, I mean, can you just give us an overview as to what it is that you're looking to explore and mine out of that target?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, it's heavy mineral sands, in particular something called ilmenite. And ilmenite is used to produce titanium dioxide. And titanium dioxide is used as a pigment in papers and textiles and paints. And it is about a $20 billion market per annum. So we're talking about a very significant market. And the ilmenite that we have just sampled with SGS in Canada, who are a mineral sands expert in processing and lab test work, the ilmenite we've found, we've just announced today, is averaging about 10% in situ. But it ranges from close to 6% up to just about shy of 15% in situ ilmenite. The other thing to note is that our total heavy mineral content is about 46.7% weighted average, and that is, extremely high. If you compare that to some of the advanced mineral sands projects around the world, such as Iluka. Iluka is a premier producer of mineral sands. They've got about 5 projects averaging 7% total heavy mineral content. And we've got, well, we're showing in our current test work 46.7%. So the potential is there on the numbers. It is not a JORC resource. We'll come to the work we intend to be doing in the close season and into next field season, but I should say it's not a JORC resource, but obviously these are verified assay results, so they are verified independently, and they're extremely good. And sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to, yeah, how long do you think it would be before you get to a JORC resource?
Well, it's something we've said in the announcement. We're flagging that we are certainly looking into whether or not the current test work we've done is sufficient for delineating an initial JORC resource. So it is definitely on our to-do list, shall we say, even from the current test work. I mean, it was extensive sampling that we did. And the thing that it's worth noting is, just so people understand what type of a project this is, so, compare it to a hard rock deposit like our Graphite project, which, as I say, is a very good project, but it is hard rock, and so typical hard rock exploration involves a lot of drilling at depth, which is costly, and obviously has to sort of stack up on the numbers. With something like this, if you've seen the pictures on our RNSs or on our website, it's at surface. It is mineral sands. It is beach sands. It's on the beach. It's also in the shallow offshore, and it's also in what we call the raised beaches, which are like dunes effectively behind what you and I would think of as a beach. But what that means is you can touch it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can walk on it, and so the potential for exploitation at lower cost is obviously huge. So that's something that needs to be borne in mind. So when we look to develop this, push it forward, it is not a hard proposition, and it's not and relatively speaking, nothing is cheap, but relatively speaking, it is not an expensive proposition.
Yeah, and I've obviously seen that you've sort of roughly compared it to the Dundas project as well. Do you want to just talk about that a little bit? Yeah,
sure. I mean, people say neurology is a bad word, and I understand that, but it would be remiss not to mention the fact that we are sitting on a coastline. We've got about 22 k's of what we think potential mineralization on this coastline in northwest Greenland, and down the coastline from us is Blue Jay Mining, who've been working on their project for I think the best part of 3 years now. So they're much more advanced than us, and that's reflected in a number of things. They have a JORC resource. They are going into exploitation. They are intending to go into construction and production next year, 2018, and to sell product in 2020. It is a very rapid progress at their project site on that timeline, and it just shows you, as I say, the potential. This is a fairly simple proposition for mineral sand. Even for mineral sands, there are no, it is ilmenite that we're looking to produce. There aren't other products as far as we can see, and there aren't any at the moment major bottlenecks in terms of mineralogy, although it's early stage for us. But obviously, as I say, next door to us the guys have done a lot more work, so we've got if you like, a good idea of where we would also be heading. So the point to note is, as I say, we're not trying to say we are them at all. They are far more advanced than us, but the important thing is we've done some work. We've gone into site, we've come up with results which are looking very similar to the grades at the Dundas project. The heavy mineral content is similar, and as I say, the average grades are looking quite similar. So we've got a very good base now to be starting from, and to be trying to also rapidly progress our project in the next months and years.
Yeah, I mean, you said in the RNS you're going to assess the possibility of generating this maiden mineral resource estimate, but how long is it going to be before you're planning more exploration at the project, and what's that going to involve now you've got these assay results?
Well, we've also got bulk samples. So we took 2 bulk samples, about 50 kgs each, and there'll be a lot more test work that we can do on that. We'll be producing a concentrate. We'll be looking at the bulk sampling. Everything we do, even though we were only in the field for a brief time because we got the license granted late in the day in the season, so there was a limit to what we could do, but we did as much as we possibly could do. And we've taken a huge number of samples really in the time available, and 2 bulk samples. I mean, a lot of this is about processing and mineralogy, so just understanding the components of what we've got there, the product, and then starting to talk to industry experts about where that product might find its way, who might be interested in buying it. All the things that Blue Jay have already done, we will be doing as well. It isn't rocket science, but it all needs to be done. But we've got, as I say, a lot of the material out of the site already. So there's a lot of work that we can do in the close season. We're working with the Danish Geological Survey. We've taken aerial photography extensively over all of our license area, and that's all being worked on right now by the Danish Geological Survey, and that will enable us also, that will help us with our JORC resource, because we can then start to do calculations in terms of what kind of an initial resource we can have, and that will help us, and it will also help us with planning our field season next year. So, as soon as we can go back into the field, we will be going back into the field. If we've got an initial JORC resource this winter, clearly the idea will be to go in and expand on that JORC resource with further sampling that we'll do much more extensively. There are whole stretches of coastline that we've barely touched that all appear to have the same ilmenite mineralization as the areas that we have sampled. So, it's a massive proposition, but not a hard one. It is, as I say, at surface on the beach and on the raised beaches. So, we certainly would be intending to go in and doing much more extensive work to get a much bigger, if we do have a resource, to get a much bigger resource next year, and then start to really think about how we develop the project, because indications are that it is a relatively simple proposition in terms of processing, but that isn't from our work to date, and we have to do our own work.
Yes, I mean, within the portfolio, you've obviously then got 7 other projects other than Black Sands, all targeting different resources, more or less. So what's the focus for you moving forward in the next 3 months? I mean, the first thing I would like to ask as well about Horse Hill. You conditionally agreed to acquire that further 3.1% from Regency Mines, but I believe UK Oil and Gas had the first option on that. So they've recently done a fundraise, as announced this week, or they've got 10 million incoming. So how is that affecting your ability to complete on that purchase?
Well, I mean, I can't really talk for others, to be honest, and you'll have to watch this space on that one, I'm afraid, in terms of where that goes. But yes, I mean, as you rightly said, we've announced the market, we've conditionally agreed to buy it. There is a right of UCOGs to take up the interest first. You just have to watch this space on that one, I'm afraid, and see where that goes. I mean, we've already got 15% of Horse Hill developments. It was an opportunity. It's a nice to have to show that we really believe in the project. There's been a key development only recently, as you know, I'm sure, which is that the Surrey County Council has granted planning permission for us to go in and do the extended flow testing at Horse Hill, which we've been sort of wanting to do for quite some time now. So we finally got the planning permission, which is a huge, result, and advances us and our project much further down the line, and enables us to go and do this extended flow testing. And let's not forget, it was some time ago we did initial flow testing at Horse Hill and came up with a sort of average of about 1,800 barrels a day. We know a lot more about Horse Hill now, not just from the work at Horse Hill, but the work on neighbouring projects that UCOG have done at Broadford Bridge. The work that Angus has done at Brockham. This is all feeding into an understanding of the Weald Basin and how big the potential is. So, we're obviously all itching to get back in and do extended flow testing. I think we've said certainly early next year, Q1 of next year is I'm sure the target, and that will should tell us whether we have a commercial discovery. And if we have a commercial discovery at Horse Hill, the key thing to do next is to put it into production, apply for a production license, and get the permitting to put it into production as quickly as possible. So, that's we can only. It's obvious that we like the project. We've gone from 5 to 10 to 15%. We could maybe go to 18% of Horse Hill development. So, we're a key investor and key funder of that project. And as along the way, we also picked up this interest in Brockham, which, as I say, is only 5%, but it could be a very nice, provide a very nice revenue stream for Alba. So that's I forget what your question was now. Sorry.
No, I was just asking you about Horse Hill and the completion of that 3.1% purchase and how that was going. Okay, George. Well, I think we've run out of time for today, but I look forward to speaking to you again in the future, because it sounds like you've got quite a lot going on.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
So that was Executive Chairman George Frangeskides from Alba Minerals Resources plc, ticker ALBA, listed on AIM.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.